you for taking the time out tonight and driving, walking, or swimming over. We really do appreciate it.
Good, I like that.
My name is Teri Branella, and I am the mayor of this tiny little borough. I've been mayor now for 8 years, and I really like to be able to give people information. And when I met Barry, there he is, Barry Lefkowitz, from MGR2, and Carol Gabel, it was an instant chemistry and partnership. And David Spector was also part of their group. And we've been, trying to do things along the lines of educating people and helping them to know more about medicinal marijuana and what it can do and how to bring it to your town if you're interested, or what it entails. So they put together an excellent panel tonight. In fact, we are waiting for one gentleman to still get here. So we're going to just reorder our speakers. But first, I want to recognize some people that took their time to come today. I know, do I have some representatives from from Congressman Norcross's office? Okay. And so I appreciate it. Thank you very much for coming out and bringing that information back. I have from the 5th Legislative District, I have Assemblywoman Pat Egan-Jones. There she is. I didn't see you come in. And Assemblyman Bill Spearman. Thank you. Thank you very much. From Camden County Board of Freeholders, I have Carmen Rodriguez. And Freeholder Susan Shin Angulo. I know I have many mayors here. If you would all just stand up real quick and just give me a stand up and a wave. Thank you, Mayor Warlow, Mayor Ward. I mean, it's good for you. I'm just really happy that you're taking time to come and listen to this information. All right, Tom, I know you're in here too. So again, thank you very, very much. We're going to get started. I want to introduce the panel tonight. And before I do that, I want to just talk about some of the key points and key things that you're going to hear about tonight. So, it'll help you on your journey. Well, that would have been smart to shut that off. Everybody, make sure you lower your cell phones. That was just a reminder that I had. I said that. So let me just do that right now and be a good girl. We're just going to put it on airplane mode. That's the safest. All right. So what we're going to address tonight is the challenges and the solutions for the most explosive topic to hit our state, medical cannabis. We're going to show the difference between medical and adult use cannabis facilities. So there'll be some conversation about that. We'll be talking about how to handle the growth of dispensaries, patients, and the impact on our townships, boroughs, and cities. We'll also be addressing where our legislation is headed in the very near future, and talking about decriminalization and expungements for those that are incarcerated. So there's a lot that we're going to address tonight. So I want to introduce the panel, and although he's not here, he's stuck in traffic. But I do want to, put his bio out there for everybody, and then when he comes in, we'll give him a round of applause and we'll introduce him again. Deputy Speaker and Assemblyman Gordon Johnson of District 37. Gordon Johnson was elected by the people of the 37th Legislative District of Bergen County to the New Jersey State General Assembly in 2001. As part of the General Assembly leadership, Assemblyman Johnson serves in the position of Speaker pro tempore. He is chair of the Assembly Commerce and Economic Development Committee. He's member of the Judiciary Committee, member of the Budget Committee, and is a former member of the New Jersey Public Safety Communications Commission. Previously, he served as Deputy Speaker and the Majority Conference Leader, both leadership posts in the New Jersey State Assembly. From 2006 to 2011, Assemblyman Johnson served as chair of the Assembly Law and Public Safety Committee. Assemblyman Johnson retired with the rank of Major from the United States Army Reserve in 2000. He is highly decorated and holds the National Defense Service Medal, Bronze Star, Meritorious Service Medal, Southwest Asia Service Medal, NATO Service Medal, Kuwait Liberation Medal, and many more. So it's a pretty impressive person there. Second person, and before I go, I forgot some of my council people. If you happen to be on council with me, please just raise your hand. Julie McCleary, I have Trish McConnell, and Patrick. So sorry to go out of order there, but I felt I needed to do that. I have Bridgette Fonseca. She's the Director of Dispensary Operations at Curaleaf, New Jersey. If you can give a little wave. And little bio on Bridgette. She's the Director of Dispensary Operations for Curaleaf, New Jersey. Bridgette has been with the dispensary since opening in October 2015. With comprehensive knowledge of daily dispensary operations and state regulations, Bridgette leads the staff in providing thousands of patients with high-quality medicinal cannabis. Bridgette has worked in the pharmaceutical industry for 5 years and as a pharmacy technician, where she was responsible for daily inventory logs, counting medicine, and filling prescriptions. Not only has Bridgette's past experience prepared her for the many facets of managing Curaleaf, New Jersey, but her passion for helping patients and compassionate personality fits perfectly with its mission of helping relieve the pain and suffering that their patients experience on a daily basis. And I have to say, just in meeting you for that moment or two, I could feel that compassion in you. It's really very nice, so thank you for being here. Next, we have Carol Gabel. Carol is with MGR2 LLC. She's the former VP of the New Jersey State Chamber of Commerce, COO of the Delaware State Chamber of Commerce, President of Seven Pearls LLC, Risk Management, and an associate with MGR2 LLC with a major focus on advocacy for medical cannabis. Thank you, Carol. Carol's become very dear to me, too. Next, we are going to have this person come in via phone because they're pretty much stuck with the rain up in the north area. Her name is Teresa Pollard, Esquire. She's a prosecutor of the City of Orange. Teresa is the chief prosecutor for the City of Orange and former assistant public defender for the City of Newark. So she's going to be able to talk to us about a lot of the legalities, with regard to the law. Alexandra Lleras, am I saying your name correctly?
Alex is good.
Alex is good, thank you. I appreciate that. Associate Government Relations, Weedmaps. She is currently a dedicated member of the Government Affairs team for Weedmaps, the world's oldest and largest technology company that operates within the regulated cannabis industry. Alex has had the opportunity to work closely with local and state officials to create and support safe, industrious, and equitable legislation around medical and adult use cannabis legalization. Alex also spent time at the New Jersey Department of Health, where she has helped draft recommendations to increase patient access in the medical marijuana program as part of her time as a fellow at the Eagleton Institute of Politics. She has held sought-after positions in the district office of Congressman Rodney Friedlinghauser and New York State Senator Brian Kavanaugh. She also spent time working for anti-smoking nonprofit, the New Jersey Global Advisors on Smoke-Free Policy, New Jersey GASP. So if we can just maybe give our panel. So we're going to start with our questions, and Bridgette, I'm going to start with you. Okay. So the first question we have for you, Bridgette, is How has Curaleaf, New Jersey worked along with law enforcement and local elected officials in Belmar?
So Curaleaf is very fortunate to have a wide security team on our staff. We have state troopers, ex-state troopers, and police officers that are our security team, and they're constantly in touch with the local Belmar Police Department. We have had 0 incidents, so Belmar Police Department likes us a lot.
Great.
And yes, it is. And we have worked with Belmar. We have been a part of the Veterans War Memorial. We've worked with local schools as far as the Hollydale School, and we've worked with the Lark School as well. So we try to educate the community and provide information. The staff, our security team, has went out to local law enforcement around the area of Belmar and tried to educate them on what to expect when they stop a patient, making sure that the patient has the proper ID and the proper label on their medication. So we try to educate them. So.
Thank you. What have been the concerns regarding cannabis in the communities that you represent?
So,
I'm sorry.
Okay, I knew this was going to happen. I got a little faux pas there, Carol. I'll get back. What does your position entail on a daily basis at Curaleaf?
So my position is basically inventory functions, working with the state to make sure that we stay in regulation with all the state guidelines. So making sure that patients, get their medicine, that they do not go over their allotments, and just keeping the communication open with the state on a daily basis.
Thank you very much. Carol, a couple questions for you. What are some of the risks that you see in the day-to-day operations of the business of cannabis?
So thanks, Terry. As a dovetail to what you had said, Bridgette, there are a lot of risks associated within the dispensaries. One of the greatest risks that I see is lack of education, and I'm sure you can attest to that. If the staff in the dispensary is not educated, the consumers are certainly confused. I'm sure that a number of you in the audience are here because you want to be educated. So for me, I think the greatest risk really is lack of education. So I applaud all of you that are here this evening, despite the weather, etc., because truly this is one of the biggest explosions that we've had in our state. And currently working with the legislators and the governor and the speaker and helping to write the legislation on the medical marijuana, I know the importance of education. So thank you all for being here. The second risk would be insurance, and I'm sure that's another thing that we can all take our heads in. Because once again, it's new, it's illegal, and in many states, federally. So insurance companies, carriers, are really having a difficult time with this. So that's another risk factor. And the dispensaries, have issues because I'm sure the insurance is very high, and there are a lot of risks associated with that. Last but not least, and certainly dear to my heart, is cash. And you can also attest to that. So from our friends on the West Coast, we see money laundering, in-house dispensary theft, crime. Imagine Uber drivers, product, and cash. That's sort of a nightmare waiting to happen, right? And then other stressful situations that pose a risk, would be with auditing, tracking. You have cash, where is the cash going? So, I feel really strongly about these risks that we have to pay attention to.
Thank you, Carol. Alex.
Yes.
Good enough?
Can everyone hear me?
Would you say your last name for me, please?
Lleras.
Lleras.
It's a doozy.
It's very easy. It's easy to just not the technical. I wanted to make sure. I like to try to make sure I say people's names correctly. But Alex, thank you for being here tonight.
Very happy to be here. I'm going to go to Wawa after. I'm from North Jersey. I'm so excited.
Well, they do it just a little bit better. Okay, so Alex, maybe you can answer, why does Weedmaps, a tech company, care about cannabis policy?
So obviously I'm going to assume that everyone has heard of the oldest and largest cannabis technology company, Weedmaps, right? No? Yeah. So Weedmaps, like I said, we're a tech company. We don't touch the plant, but we touch everyone who touches the plant. We're most well known for our tech platform, which is Weedmaps. You can go into your phones right now, download the app, it'll show you nearby dispensaries, it'll show you Curaleaf with the menu of product, review of product, all that good stuff. And so basically, we decided to build out a government relations team because we were collecting all of this data and basically seeing what has and has not worked in all of these jurisdictions, because we do operate in every single jurisdiction that has some sort of legalized cannabis, whether it be for medicinal or adult use purposes. And so what we do is we go into states that are either introducing or kind of reintroducing their adult use programs or medical programs and giving them recommendations. So I like to say I make marijuana boring. That's the most fun to me. In the back, I have some folders that I encourage all of you to take and fight over because there are only 3. But I have business cards. We have a bunch of white papers. If you ever want to nerd out with us over at Weedmaps.
Thank you, Alex. I do have another question for you.
Oh, great.
What is the difference between medical and adult use facilities?
Okay, great question. So here in the state of New Jersey, we have these things called ATCs, Alternative Treatment Centers. Right now there's forced vertical integration, which means that these facilities need to be able to do everything. They grow, they process, they sell. This makes it a little bit difficult for smaller shops to kind of get involved. On the legislative side, I think we're going to see some changes to the medical program. Obviously, everyone's kind of buzzing and trending about what the adult use legislation is going to look like. I like to say there isn't a bill that's floating, it's just kind of ideas. But really the point that I want to get to is that everyone kind of agrees that medical cannabis is something that patients should have access to. I want everyone here to know that 30% of the adult use market is people that are treating some sort of medical ailment. They might not want to join a medical program because they don't want to be on a list, or for a variety of other issues. So when we think medical, it's also important, when we think adult use, we also want to keep medical in mind.
Thank you very much. Our next panelist is not with us tonight. Unfortunately, they encountered a difficult time getting down here. So what we're going to do is we've agreed to put her on speaker, so she will get her questions, and hopefully everybody will be able to hear her okay. And I did forget to acknowledge somebody who is not here tonight, and that's Commissioner Jeff Brown. He was invited, and he really wanted to be a part of this program, but due to unforeseen circumstances, he was unable to be with us today. Floodborne. Yeah, we get them a lot around here. So, do you have Teresa on the phone? Okay.
Obviously, I'm not Teresa Paul.
I have to say, I wish she was here because you would really enjoy her, and she's a wealth of information from the political end. I mean, from the policing end.
Can you hear Mayor Branella?
I can hear.
Okay, Teresa, you work in an urban area. Do you have any concerns regarding how a medical marijuana dispensary might affect crime on an increase or a decrease?
First off, I think that medical marijuana, a dispensary, you mean just the idea of medical marijuana. The idea of medical marijuana, I've worked in urban areas as a public defender and in my current job, and I will say that in the area of mental health, as a public defender in Newark for 8 years, we saw a lot of people who didn't want to take their medication because they didn't like how it made them feel, so they were trying to self-medicate. And to that end, they would use marijuana, heroin, cocaine, a variety of pills, something that would stop them from hearing voices can't see an increase in crime simply because, first off, who wants to steal marijuana that doesn't make you high? Secondly, and more importantly, the safeguards that have been put into effect in regards to how you have a medical marijuana dispensary and the security precautions you have to take, it kind of, nobody's trying to rob Fort Knox. We haven't heard of any stories from the dispensaries we have of issues. I can't see why having more, there would be more issues. I mean, why would you want to go to a place when there's, if you read the current regulations, they have to have cameras, there's no dead spots, you have to have security for outside the building as far as securing parking, inside the facility of someone who's checking IDs. I don't think it'll have an impact in the way that people think crime-wise. I really don't.
Okay. Thank you, Teresa. I have a second question for you, though, and that's with regards to the pending legalized marijuana bill. It talks about social equity and expungements. What exactly are they talking about?
Well, when they talk about social equity, they're talking about the inherent disproportionate arrests and convictions of minorities in regards to marijuana convictions. That's simply what they're talking about. And the argument is that since it was illegal and, you know, if you lived in certain areas, you were going to get caught, you were going to get stopped, you didn't have somebody who would make a call and the charge would be dismissed or lowered. So you end up with a conviction for the possession of marijuana or for wandering, which is trying to buy marijuana. And part of the first part of social equity is that what do we do with all these people who we penalize because it's bad? It's bad. We're not talking about people with 50, 60 bags. That's a whole other, I call it a businessman. That's a whole other conversation about being a businessman and trafficking. We're talking about personal use, 1 bag, 2 bag. What do we do with those people who have convictions? How do we, now that we decide it's okay, well, they're still running around with the burden of a conviction. How do we fix that? And to that end, they talk about expungements. As a former public defender, I can tell you, and as someone who was in private practice, did expungements. Expungements, in other states, they might have a code like California code 123-4 means marijuana. In New Jersey, we do not. We have what's called a Title 35 and Title 36, which deals with the possession of controlled dangerous substances, which is heroin, cocaine, opiates without a prescription, marijuana, any illegal substances. And Title 36 deals with paraphernalia. Most people think of paraphernalia as needles. It can also be anything that holds drugs. So you could be convicted of paraphernalia because you have a baggie that could hold marijuana. And you also don't need a lab report, which is why we like the Title 36, because it's less work, because a lab report takes about 4 months. There's also another conviction that people get for having drugs, and that's wandering. It's a Title 33. It's Title 33-2.1, and there's an A, B, and C. And it simply means you're in a known drug area for the purposes of engaging in a narcotics transaction, buying, selling, or using. And it's sort of like a catch-all, and there's no... Title 35 and Title 36 carry $500 drug education, drug reduction penalty. Title 33 does not. So simply by its very use, it's $500 cheaper. Most people will cop to that because it's cheaper. So now you want to expunge. They talk about, we'll just expunge these things. One of the problems is that because we use Title 35, Title 36, and the wandering charge, which is the 33-2.1 I've just talked about, and we use them for all of them. So if you have a heroin conviction, it could be under Title 35. If you have a needle conviction, it could be under Title 36. You can have a wandering conviction for opiates, Title 33. So to physically expunge have to have someone go in and physically look at each record. So I think one of the things that needs to be looked at with that is I call it just to have some skin in the game. If you want to have people be able to expunge previous convictions for marijuana, you need to have them fill out a form, a simple form. You need to have them put some money down. Maybe not $100, maybe not $50. But I think $25, $30 isn't too much to ask. But I'm just speaking from a administrative perspective of actually having to have someone go look those things up. If we're going to do sua sponte for everyone in the state, I don't think most municipalities could afford to have one member of their administrative staff for their court just simply go do that. Especially when you have a small court and maybe you have 3 or 4 people, you can't take one person off to, oh yeah, don't put those tickets in, go look this stuff up. So that's one of the problems I think they have to deal with and how to do that. But that's what they're talking about. Simply, if we're going to make this legal, let's take away those convictions.
Okay. Thank you, Tracy.
We'll get back for a third question.
Okay.
Okay, so we're still waiting for Assemblyman Gordon Johnson, who is making his way here with all this bad weather and traffic. So I think we'll just go on with the third question, and then we'll just have him finish up when he gets here. So we're going to go back to Bridgette, and the question I have for you. Okay. The question I have for you is, how will the expansion of medical cannabis affect the state of New Jersey going forward?
That's a great question. So I see it on a daily basis, and patients ask this question all the time. So being in the medical industry, we need to make sure that we have a sustainable market for patients. We need to make sure that patients get the quality of medicine that the state sets forth in their guidelines. I think that testing should be involved, possibly third-party testing, so that way, patients get the best quality of medicine, because we see patients that are reducing their medications. I had one patient come in that had traumatic brain injury and that was on 20 medications, and he reduced his medications down to 6. So it's very important to keep the quality, especially from a medical standpoint.
Carol, I have a question for you. How can consumers, vendors, and owners of dispensaries do business and at the same time remain compliant with federal law with regard to payment, respectively?
So, just like this evening, it's a layer by layer of education. The same applies to a solution for the cash. It's not an easy fix. However, we're really fortunate that we have been in touch with the governor, the speaker, various legislators, and talking about the severity of this problem. And we definitely have their ear. But it's another learning curve. Once I get into a virtual wallet, a key, the blockchain, where does all that money go? It was here, now it's not here. It's like socks in the dryer. I don't get what you're talking about. Is those coins, are those coins involved? The answer is no. It is the safest method, blockchain. So you're going to hear that word too. So if it isn't enough medical cannabis for some of you just adjusting to what's happening, blockchain is here to stay, and it isn't only for cannabis. It applies to a lot of different industries, the legal industry, with smart contracts. So with respect to this question about how the consumers, the owners, everybody involved, how can they all overcome this problem of cash? There's a handout, if you did receive it up front, that goes into a little bit of detail. You would have had to have brought your pajamas for me to have to go through step by step what happens, but it is a very safe way for all of them to handle this issue. For the consumer, they don't have to worry As far as, their money, where it goes, what happens to it, it's a 1-to-1 ratio. It has nothing to do with the Bitcoin, where the money goes up or down. The owners have a great tracking mechanism. I'm sure, as Bridgette can attest, there's a lot of inventory and tracking that goes on. So the dollar kind of follows the seed to sale. So as I said, it's a little complicated for this evening. I don't want to have you all glassy-eyed. But the sheet that we have explains a little bit in detail, and I'd be happy to ask any more serious inquiries. If anybody has any, I'd be happy to answer them. But that's the solution that we have right now. If whether it's with Amtrak or somebody else, gearing yourself towards that blockchain and securing the payment system of cash is really the way to go.
Thank you, Carol. Alex, I have a good one here for you.
All right.
Everybody be interested in this. How do we zone for cannabis facilities?
Well, that is a great question, and I expect all the mayors to take notes. So how do we zone for cannabis facilities? Within the state of New Jersey, it's difficult to say because there's no, concrete bill that I can point to right now, but we do have kind of general tips. One general tip is to be careful with buffer zones that you might want to put in. So say you want to be about like 500 feet from some sort of sensitive use zone. What this can do is it can create clusters or pockets of cannabis facilities. And so they're kind of just like these defunct green zones. And also what's going to happen is if you can only have cannabis facilities within this kind of like one area of your town, those real estate prices are going to skyrocket, and local community members aren't going to be able to take place within the legal market. They won't be able to kind of get a slice of the pie. Something that I want to mention that's really important is basically when we think about cannabis policy, the most important thing is minimizing the illegal market. We're going from an illegal market to a legal market, and the way to do that is through access points. So the best way to do that is when you're zoning for cannabis facilities is treat them as any other facility. Retail should go in retail, and manufacturing facility should go within an industrial zone. And like I said, you want to be careful of those buffer zones. If any of the elected officials want to speak with me after this, would be more than happy to show you examples of how other states and municipalities have gone about doing it, if that is something that you decide to move forward with. And I would like to echo something that's kind of been said here, is I applaud everyone here who's trying to educate themselves on this issue, because it's very difficult to make sound policy around something that's so new. Especially for New Jersey, there's only really a handful of places that have actually, successfully zoned for cannabis facilities. So I hope that this is the end of the conversation, that this is the beginning. So everyone gets to move forward.
Very good. Thank you, Alex. I guess we're going to get Teresa. Excuse me. Okay. It's a little different, but we go with the flow around here.
By the way, the Assemblyman will be here in about 5 minutes.
I hear that Jeopardy theme in my head right now.
All right, ready?
Okay, Teresa, here's your question. And remember, you have to answer it in the form of a question. Do you think that medical marijuana will have an impact on the illegal drug use?
That's hard to say. Like I stated previously, I think in terms of people who are looking for, they have, some mental issues, those sort of people, definitely that will affect. Because they have a better option, they obviously will take it. In terms of the regular stream, I wouldn't say that it wouldn't have an effect, because, you hear, just in general life, you hear stories from people you would least expect it, that they have a relative who has this issue or that issue. I had someone tell me that they couldn't wait for marijuana to become legal because an elderly relative, and I'm talking over 70, had some issues. And for whatever reason, they didn't want medical, and they couldn't wait because they wanted to get regular marijuana because their pain medication, they didn't like the way it made them feel. And I, of course, said, well, why don't you go get a medical card? And for whatever reason, the doctor was responsive to it. They weren't really aware of it, and so they couldn't wait. And I was just like, oh, because that wasn't someone I expected, somebody's great-grandpa, not their grandpa, but their great-grandpa. Do I think that medical will have an impact? I think it will. I don't think, the difference is quite clear. There's adult use and then there's medical. And I think people who are using illegal marijuana that's illegal right now, that's adult use, that has THC, who is given the option for medical, I think those people come out of the market. So I think there's a decrease there. I think at the end of the day, the 27-year-old who's just trying to get a smoke, they're going to get a smoke. One of the things that makes me crazy is that we have this conversation in a vacuum as if you already can't get marijuana. The reality is, we're in the state of New Jersey between New York and Philadelphia. There's a seaport in New York. There's a seaport in Philadelphia. We have one in Newark. There's several major airlines. 95 runs through. We have trains. We're not talking about something we can't get. We're talking about why don't we regulate it and make sure that we can get our tax cut from it. That's really what we're talking about. We're talking about, it's akin to moonshine in the 20s and 30s when alcohol was illegal and you had moonshine and everybody went, whoa, wait a minute, what are we doing here? So that's why no one, I have a great uncle who can make you some nice corn liquor, but by and large, everyone knows because it's regulated. We know what we're getting.
Right.
So I hope that answers the question. I don't know if it did or not.
I think so.
That answer?
Yes.
Can I add something?
Absolutely, Alex. Absolutely.
So, I agree, and I think it's important to note, there's this whole kind of gateway drug theory that has been circling around cannabis for a long time, and I would like to point out that, it's a gateway to a drug dealer, and that drug dealer is going to have X, Y, Z, and that drug dealer is not going to check your ID, and that drug dealer is not going to have to, go report to the state every day. So once again, that's why it's so important that when we're building our cannabis policy that we keep in mind the goal of this is to minimize the illegal market. What we've seen in adult use states is teen use actually goes down because cannabis becomes harder to get. Because like I said, no one wants to lose their license. They're going to pay a lot of money for that license.
Millions of dollars. They invest millions of dollars.
Yes, exactly. We want to make sure that we minimize that illegal market as best we can, and that's, through various access points.
And the other real reality is that once it becomes legal, it's less fun. As a kid, oh, we can do that? That's illegal? Sometimes part of the things children do is because it's an illness. And when all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's not what I want to do that.
Well, thank you, Teresa. Thank you, and thank you very much for being open to handling your panel questions through the phone like this. We appreciate it.
No problem, Carol.
And I want to welcome Assemblyman Gordon Johnson. Let's give.
Boy, the people down south have a lot of patience. Thank you. We got kind of slaughtered upstate there, up north here with the rain, so it took me a little while to get down there, a little longer than I thought it would, but it's quite an experience getting here. As a matter of fact, after the drive down here, after going through that, I could probably use some medical marijuana. I'm all stressed out here, but...
we really appreciate you continuing your journey.
Doctor in the house, I can get a... But, I'm from the 37th Legislative District. That's in Bergen County, very close to New York City, right by if you know the George Washington Bridge, Fort Lee, Teaneck, Hackensack area. That's my district up there. So when I was invited down by my colleagues and my friends, thank you, I said yes. And just to show, or maybe educate or discuss, or even learn myself, number one, what the people want down here when it comes to medical marijuana, which may turn into adult use marijuana down the line, we don't know, and how it's affecting your lives down here. And are you accepting it, or you have issues with it, do you have questions? And that's why I came down. So thanks for having me, and thanks for waiting. And I guess we'll go from there. How about that? Good? Good, Carol? Okay, thank you. Oh, it's me. What about, oh, we have questions?
Oh, yes,
Oh.
we have a few questions for you, Assemblyman.
Uh-oh.
I said the same thing when I said ruh-roh.
Do you need a minute?
Nah, we'll fake it. I mean, we'll, that's me. No, I'm okay.
Well, seriously though,
Yeah,
do you need a chance to just take a deep breath? I mean, just kind of.
No, we'll go into it.
Okay.
That's how life is in Trenton.
I know what it's like being stuck in traffic, don't we?
Yeah.
It's hard. Okay, so one of the questions that we have for you, Assemblyman Johnson, is as a New Jersey legislator, can you describe for us the current conversation regarding cannabis in Trenton, and how has that conversation evolved?
Okay, now you're referring to medical or adult use?
Medical.
Medical marijuana. Okay, my feelings, my understanding about medical marijuana in the state of New Jersey, it's accepted. Its use has been accepted, I think, and also supported by a majority of the legislators in Trenton. That's R's and D's. So they recognize its importance, and we've heard from a lot of stakeholders, from families who have used it for their loved ones. It says their lives are better because of that, and there's wide support. And we're expanding the program in the state, as you know.
Yes.
So, and that's because of people giving their input, and of course, different administration too. But people giving their input, and legislators or lawmakers saying, okay, then this is helping people, and therefore we should expand its use. And expand the ability to get it, to procure it. So, and that's where we are. So I think we're getting more, we have 6 now, we're going up to 12. Thank you, Steve. So we're going up to 12 retail sites, I guess you could say, or points, sales points. So that's where we are. I support it. And one has to realize also that a legislator, such as myself, you may be surprised to hear this, but we don't know everything. So we rely on people like you to tell us how it's affecting your lives, how it's impacting you, the pros and cons. And then we listen, and then, of course, hopefully we react in the right way. Good?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. All right, I have another question for you.
I'm here.
What have been the concerns regarding cannabis in the communities that you represent?
Okay, I have 13 towns in the 37th district, mostly upper middle class towns. I have no urban towns in my district at all. We kind of call Inglewood and Hackensack urban cities, but they're not really as compared to our real urban areas like Newarks and Pattersons and Elizabeth. So, of course, the concern was how it'll impact people of color. Will this ability to get this medical marijuana, or we're going to put these retail outlets, will it impact the downtown area where they have this? But of course, that's kind of limited to land use boards. I know in my city of Inglewood, we have what we call a light industrial area, a place where you have small warehouses. So if they were to open an operation in one of these areas, it's away from retail, it's away from residential, and people could go there without being noticed, so to speak, and it won't take away from your downtown retail establishments. Also, from what I've seen, I visited a facility in Maryland. Thank you. And it's a professional operation. It's not like the old head shops back in, well, I think I'm the oldest one here, except for a few people who know what that means. Back in the 70s, 60s, and 70s, nothing like that at all. These are professional operations. Well, it's like an Apple store, some say. So it looks good, but we should try to keep it away from your downtowns or residential areas, of course, in my opinion. Okay.
And I think this is something that everybody's going to have a lot of interest in. Medicinal marijuana can benefit patients with chronic pain and a lot of other serious concerns. But it can also be a powerful approach to help address the opioid crisis that we are experiencing here in the state of New Jersey. Do you agree?
The opioid crisis, will marijuana impact the opioid crisis? I guess it probably could. I've been hearing that it could. The opioid crisis in this country and in this state is overwhelmed our ability to provide services for those who are in need. It's something, we can't arrest our way out of it. It needs a comprehensive response from Department of Education, Department of Health, and from law enforcement, and also from public health officials. Need a comprehensive response to address this. Now, will marijuana be one of the factors that will help reduce or mitigate a person's desire for the opioid drug? That I do not know. I'm not a doctor, but I've heard it does. I heard it does not. So, but of course, if it'll somehow allow a person who's addicted to this opioid drug and who's on a path to destruction, if this will somehow alleviate his or her desires or cravings for opioids, then of course it's a good idea, I think. But it has to be addressed in some way, and it's a massive problem. So this would be a small factor or a small way to, or one of the factors that could help mitigate that strong desire.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We are going to open it up in a minute for questions, but I have one question that I would like to ask Barry Lefkowitz, and he's our phone holder for Teresa Pollock. He's the owner and the president of MGR2. And Barry, I guess the question for you is, can you tell us a little bit about the status of medical marijuana for those suffering from PTSD and other neurological conditions, and the work that you're doing with that?
Thank you. I'm the chairman of the board for the New Jersey Friends of the Guard and Reserve, and also I have a civilian rank of colonel for the employee support of the Guard and Reserve for protecting the rights of veterans returning to their jobs. Carol, Dave, and I have been running a major educational campaign with the governor's office, with the Department of Health, and also with many legislators, including my good friend, Assemblyman Pat Jones, and obviously my brother of another mother, Assemblyman Johnson. We have been working closely with the legislature. We actually met with the Commissioner, Elahan, who he himself is a veteran, and he also had worked for the Veterans Administration. How many here in the audience are veterans? If you could please raise your hand. Okay, we do have some. As you know, New Jersey, because of the Joint Base, has a significant veteran population here. And our veterans population in New Jersey, as it is across the country, is ill-served. The Veterans Administration does not do a very good job. In fact, they over-medicate our returning vets who have all types of problems with PTSD. You know, the sad commentary is in 2016, only 469 patients with PTSD were serviced by alternative treatment centers, when we actually have thousands, and I mean thousands in the plural, of veterans here who have PTSD. So our conversation with the governor's office, with the commissioner and commissioner's staff, and with a number of legislators, is that New Jersey is one of the handful of states that has the expanded Medicaid program. And our recommendation had been to take that program and by legislation allow veterans to be able to be covered under the expanded Medicaid program, because right now, they're ineligible to be able to get any type of coverage to be able to treat PTSD or any of the other neurological problems that vets coming back have been able to have addressed. And so we're pleased. We just came out of a meeting last Tuesday, I think it was. We got a commitment. Assemblyman Danielson, who, as the Assemblywoman knows and the Assemblyman knows, is carrying what we would refer to as carrying the water for the Speaker on the medical cannabis legislation. And he has committed to doing the expanded Medicaid. But what I would ask of all of you is, because there are a number of communities here, and we have more than just the 5th legislative district covered here, what I would ask of you is to notify your legislators that you would like to see the expanded Medicaid program provide the insurance coverage for our vets. And I want to thank Assemblyman Johnson. You weren't here when they were doing your bio, but you know, the Assemblyman, yeah, well, I'm older than you, don't forget that. But I know, it's true. But the Assemblyman, you know, retired major, and we thank the Assemblyman, and I thank those of you who raised your hand that you had served. We thank you very much for your service. We really must address this issue for veterans. And so that's, you know, so it looks like we're getting closer and closer to be able to help our vets.
Do you have something you'd like to say?
I think I see Pat Egan. Is that Pat Egan in the back?
Yes, it is.
Mr. Spearman?
Yes, he is.
Hey, Mr. Spearman's new to us, so he's a freshman down at Trenton. Boy, is he in trouble. Boy, is he in trouble. Yeah, he's in trouble. You know, going back to the opioid crisis and how we got there, how we got here. Years ago, when you were in the hospital and you had surgery or you had an issue, part of the rating system for the hospital was how they managed your pain. I don't know if they're familiar with that, how they manage your pain. So, okay, so what they did was for the rating, to get a good rating, they gave you these opioids to keep the pain level down. But now they've learned that that was a bad idea, obviously. So, but that is part of the reason we're where we are now when it comes to this crisis now. So the medical community has recognized that, and pharma, I hope, and we're now trying to correct what we've done to these poor patients who became addicted to this very powerful drug.
Thank you. Does any of the panel have anything that they want to add before I open?
So last year, we had a patient base of over 7,000 patients, and we did a survey to ask our patients what medications they're getting off of, and 50% of the patients that took the survey said that they stopped using opiates altogether. So I think that's a great accomplishment as far as medical cannabis, and it's safe, it's healthier than, you know, what opiates are doing to everybody.
Very, very. Thank you for putting that. Alex, I think you had something?
Yes. So I would like to point out that from what we've seen is states with medical cannabis do have 25% lower rates of opioid-related deaths. And it's really important that we increase access in the state of New Jersey. As we know, there are only 6 retail dispensaries in a state of about 9 million people. From start to finish, the cost of attaining medical marijuana in New Jersey is roughly going to run you about $1,200. None of that is going to be covered by insurance. You can buy an eighth of marijuana, street value maybe for $40, and that is untested, unregulated product. We don't know where it comes from, we don't know how it's grown, we don't know what's in there at all. So I hope that as we move forward with the medical and adult use bill that, you know, we just continually remember that access is so incredibly important in shrinking that illegal market.
Very good, thank you. Carol, you have anything you want to add? Okay, at this point in time, I'd be happy to open it up to anyone in the audience here who would like to ask any questions, if you want to address your questions in general.
I just have a quick question for Alex stated. When you said from start to finish, per person or per patient individually, you're saying that it's going to cost $1,200 per person, correct?
Yeah, so.
That's it.
Yeah, so basically in order to get your card, you need to find a physician who is registered with the program. And you need to have something called a bona fide physician relationship, which means you can't just go to a random doctor and be like, hey, like, I've had cancer for 20 years. No, you need to go to that physician at least 3 times. None of that is going to be covered by insurance. You might have to physically also, drive 2 hours out of your way to actually go see that doctor. And then you might have to go drive another 2 hours to register with one specific dispensary and then get product. And once again, unfortunately, these ATCs have very high overhead costs, and that's being passed down onto the consumer. So it's like a rough estimate, but just to give a frame of reference.
Gotcha. Thank you. Thanks for the clarification. And I didn't know. And so another question is, then would the dispensary help manage a patient, or patient to be, hey, listen, this doctor is the one that can give you can prescribe you with the medical marijuana. Do you have a database of that?
Yes, so the
Okay.
Department of Health has every physician that is registered with the DOH on their website. So if a patient comes in and they're looking for a physician and they have, the qualifying condition, we guide them to a local physician within their area to try to help them out. So, and we know the physicians that are a little more cost effective for the patient, so we try to guide them in that direction.
Thank you, Susan. Mayor Wardlow.
I just need some information truthfully about if a patient comes in, first of all, most of this is not covered through your medical insurance, am I correct?
It's not covered through insurance at all.
None of this.
None of it.
So if I come in as a patient, how much out of pocket when I step into your dispensary? Bridgette?
I'm sorry, what was the question? I was trying to read that.
I set her up.
I understand the doctor and I understand the process. But once I get into you, and how many visits am I allowed to make? How much is it going to cost me out of my pocket for each visit?
So that all depends. So it depends on the amount that the physician is allowing you to have per 30 days. So the max is 2 ounces. Some physicians start patients off at a ½ ounce, some do 1 ounce, and some give the full 2 ounces. So if you came into the facility and you were only interested in extracts, we have lozenge, and you get 35 lozenge for 1/8 of an ounce, which costs $60. So a lot of patients that are over 50, they don't want to smoke, so they choose to use the extracts. They'll purchase anywhere from a ½ ounce per month, so that's $240 a month that they come out of pocket. It's a little more pricey if you purchase the flower. That's what we call the cannabis. And that, pricing for that can range anywhere from $600 to $900 if you're getting the full 2 ounces. I hope I answered that well for you.